Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned into Mogul Talk, a podcast that serves as a canvas for entrepreneurs to share their triumphs and struggles on their journey to becoming the moguls of tomorrow. Hello. What's poppin'? What's shaking? Welcome to yet another episode of Mogul Talk. What it do? Woody whoop. Whoopty. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Bobby Shmurda coming out of jail. He might be out of jail right now. I really want to be at the first place where they ever perform computers, him and Roddy Rebel. Probably going to need a body armor and Thule also, but that would be the most New York lit spot to be at in the moment, because if you ever want to get a party hyped, you put on computers in New York, I should say, because that is one of the hardest songs ever created.
Yes,
and Bobby
most
Shmurda,
definitely.
and Bobby Shmurda kind of started
in all honesty,
this whole Brooklyn drill movement. Unfortunately, he went to jail and he would be the king of it. And of course, he took the drill from Chicago as well, but he started up for New York. And I would say, everybody was saying like, "Oh, New York is dead. New York is dead," because you have Atlanta who always works together and shit. But he brought New York back, I think, and unfortunately went to jail. But now we got the New York scene, and then we got Pop Smoke. Fortunately, we got Pop Smoke, who was gonna fucking lead it and probably was waiting for Bobby Shmurda to come, because they would have went crazy. And sad to see that Bobby Shmurda got killed. He just made a year anniversary. It's so sad to have such young talent, be killed for no good reason. And that's what also is detrimental to New York. It's happened before, even with Biggie, and Big L. We just kill our rappers. But shout out to Bobby Shmurda. Shout out to New York City. We coming back. We coming back. Fuck Cuomo for, I'm a Cuomo fan, but he has that whole scandal going on when it comes to the death count with nursing homes. I don't even know why you would decide to lie about that. Their side is saying that, oh, the deaths were always counted, but there was hospital deaths and nursing deaths. I don't know with the truth, to be honest, and it's all politics. But it's sad to see that, like, you get put on that high pedestal and everybody loves you, and then they knock you down like crazy when it comes to one thing. But people are going to forget about that ish. That's all it is with politics. Like, something happens, they want to, get under your skin, and then people are going to look at you bad. But how are you, Julian? Sorry for, having that vomit of prose.
Welcome to Mogul Talk. You got that crazy, like I said, Kevin gives the craziest introductions. That wasn't even the introduction. That was literally Kevin's opening monologue for SNL that he's going to do in the next 10 years. Right?
Talking about... I'm weak. That ass. That's what it kind of was.
No, but that is a perfect introduction. Like always, ladies and gentlemen, you're back for another episode of Mogul Talk. We're here, episode 403. We're in it. We're fully in the season. I'm happy to be here. For those of you guys who don't know me, this is your first episode you're listening. I am your boy, King Jules, and I'm here with my guy, my A1 day one. Been together since somebody stole his iPhone in the boys' locker room in high school. Okay.
Tragic times.
Loyalty.
Nah, OD loyalty. Still remember to this day, me being like, "Yo, Julian, can I use your Envy?" This is back when he had the Envy. Can I use it to call my mom? And you're like, "Yeah, of course." And then sad to see.
I was like, Kevin was like.
Luckily, I was a.
No, I was gonna say you were the first person that I knew with the iPhone back then. So I was like, damn, when your phone got stolen, that just hurt.
And yeah, I was, lucky that I guess I was kind of spoiled, because I did get a new iPhone like the week after. But it was sad for like that 1 week without an iPhone, because I was flexing hard. You know how it feels. Back in the day, 2009 with an iPhone. It wasn't even 2009, it was 2008. And
2008,
I had the same like situation in sixth grade, back when the Razor phone was popping, and I was the first one with the Razor, and people were like, "Damn, yo, you got the Razor?" I'm like, hell yeah. I never had a sidekick though. Never was on them, which I was kind of jealous of people who had sidekick, because that was the wave at a time. Like, that was the OD wave, and then came
it really was
BBM.
Yeah, then BBM. But you were ahead of the curve when the iPhone, because when iPhones, I mean, not to say that iPhones weren't already popping, because like that was the iPhone 3G generation, but then everybody got the iPhone 4. You were already ahead of the curve, you know what I'm saying? But
that was back when it didn't even have iMessage.
No, it was only green bubbles. But look at where we are now, episode 403 of our podcast, Mogul Talk. And, I love these episodes when it's just us because we do our normal conversation. Like, this is our check in and just talking about the stuff that's going on in the world and just in life in general. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Today's topic, we're discussing what now? By the time you listen to this episode, we're almost the end of February. Black History Month is almost over. January is over, and it feels like in a weird, different way we're in 2020 part two. Right, there were crazy things that happened in January. Then Biden transitioned, and then we got the Texas thing and the new COVID regulations, and people going outside, and the vaccination, and things are crazy. And it feels like we're just getting that sense of normalcy. So what now? What do we do now? How do we continue to live lives and create that sense of normalcy now?
Nah, for sure. Like, definitely the vaccine is gonna help. Um, and I'm not one who's that skeptical of the vaccine, but I'm not like the first in line either. I actually work, my job has given me the opportunity to take the vaccine, but as of right now, I'm like, just like, I don't think it's necessary. One, because I lived through the Elmhurst, New York, epicenter at one point, and I somehow didn't get the virus, or I've never tested positive for the virus. Then I moved over to LA, and this was another epicenter as well. And I even had a COVID scare in my job, and luckily I still didn't get it, or I tested negative. So maybe I did get it at some point, but I've been lucky. So, I don't think I'm not in a rush to receive it because I do want the people who believe they need it more to get it first. Because I don't live with my parents. Luckily, I don't live with any grandparents. It's just me and my roommate, and so I don't think it's as necessary for me. But that is how we are going to get into a sense of normalcy. Another way is, of course, like in New York, I know they're working on or doing like rapid same day testing in terms of you doing that and then being able to go to an event. I think that is smart. Like if you want to go to a movie theater, if everybody takes a test 30 minutes before, why can't you like have it in there? I don't think it's 100% foolproof plan, but it's a way to get there. There's a limit until we can actually, continue to be inside and not try and get out there. And so, COVID fatigue is a real thing, and we are uh, all feeling it. And I'm feeling it myself. But I think it's still going to take some time because even Dr. Fauci recently said that he expects people to be wearing masks until 2022 or until the government says, like, okay, it's okay to take masks. I don't know for sure if
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be wearing masks uh, like forever, but in terms of like culturally, how it is in like Japan and like South Korea and like China, they culturally they always have been wearing masks. In America, whenever you would see like people from those countries wearing a mask, we'd be like, what do they know that we don't know? Why are they rocking the mask? And it turns out they were right the whole time. But when the government itself says, okay, now it's okay, you don't masks, there is no more mask mandate. Um, I believe that's not going to happen until 2022 as well, probably second half. Um, and that's okay. I'm okay with masks. I know some people aren't, and I don't want that to be a political thing as well. Now we have like, oh, wearing two masks is even better at
A
protecting
new
yourself,
thing, yeah.
and now like people will be like, what? They wanted us wearing now they want us to wear two masks? No, I'm wearing one, which I think is a good thing because then now the argument isn't no mask or one mask. Now it's like two masks, one mask. So all the Republicans are at least they're wearing one mask. So that's I think is a plus on my. But I haven't been rocking two masks. And so the things change at all times. There's no way we could truly predict what will happen because new information comes all the time, and with that new information, a new future can be created. We did not expect this thing to happen in Texas. It has happened before. One thing that I don't like is that people are saying like, "Oh, there's no precedent for this." Who would have thought that Texas would freeze over? But in 2011, Texas did freeze over. They had record low temperatures, and it froze all of the electricity wires and shit. And they didn't do anything then. And so to think, I forgot what my point was, but you don't know. Yeah, like 2020 and 2021 is the savagery and the not savagery, how should I put this, like shit isn't gonna stop, like stuff is still gonna go down. We still have a
Yeah.
global warming pandemic that was before the whole corona pandemic. Like that's extreme weather is a cause of like climate change, and that's what Texas is learning right now. Um, and then we could also talk about like the double standard between like Republican states and like Democratic states when it comes to like personal responsibility. For specifically like Ted Cruz, like he so when Hurricane Sandy happened in New York and New Jersey, they voted against giving any federal aid to New York and New Jersey and Connecticut when they were decimated by Hurricane Sandy. And now they want federal funding, and need it desperately. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to not give them federal funding because the people are getting fucked up. They're getting fucked over. I want them to be helped. But then where's that same energy when you need help? And that's just fucked up also. And that when it comes to danger, I don't know why it becomes a political issue. Like we should all just be willing to help the people. Like there was the mayor of a town in Texas who said, "Oh, this is the people in my state. They are strong and they can warm themselves up. They will figure it out. Like I don't need to help them in any other way." And he got received a lot of backlash and had to end up resigning. Um, but what kind of world like do you live in where you feel like can decide how your whole city feels? Like you 100% know that all of your people don't want any help. That's foolish and that's
Yeah.
selfish, and it sucks that we live in a country like that that puts like political prowess or a political angle over the needs of the people. Because we all struggling. They're all
No,
cooped up and they're
we
Gucci.
we
Ted
are.
Cruz could fly to Cancun and be Gucci. The people on the ground, the people who with the low income, the people who have to, unfortunately sleep in their car because it's too cold, and then they get knocked out from carbon monoxide poisoning. Like they're the ones who are going through that. The politicians are chilling, and it's just sad. It's just sad.
I think realistically speaking, 2020 exposed, or let's say that, boom, the system has been broken. And in many ways, 2020 heightened that exposure of how broken the system was. It exposed how broken the system was from a racial injustice standpoint, from a policing standpoint, from a government aid standpoint and support. It exposed how, as a country, our mindset is so predicated on having things in this fast paced way of life. It exposed a lot of things for us. But in a wake of that, there hasn't been mass level change. And of course, we
Hmm.
continue to talk about the fight for racial injustice and, fight against police brutality and, the fight for equality. That's a regular conversation, right? And to the point, so much that it's in every conversation and everything you do in today's society, right? You look at Black History Month, you can't go in a store, a Target or a Walmart or some type of clothing brand store without there being some representation for Black History Month and facing people of color. Brands are highlighting their identity and showing their support of the BIPOC generalization, and at the same time, that's the fix, right? That's the mull over that we get little minor representations in certain type of things. And I look at the system, we talk about what now and how does the world transition, how do we transition in America, and looking at the fact that the system when it comes to COVID is terrible here when you really think about it. I was at the corner store. I saw my Ak, my guy. I was like, "Yo, where you been?" He was like, "I've been back home in Yemen." And I was like, "Yemen? Damn, you've been able to travel back and forth internationally." And he was like, "Yeah,
Jeez.
Yemen has no cases." He's like, "There's no mask. There hasn't been any recent coronavirus cases in the country, and you've been able to travel freely." He's like, "So I stayed there for a very long time because it had a sense of normalcy." And I think of Yemen, I think of New Zealand, I think of places in China where they've fully eradicated coronavirus. And now in America, our solution is the vaccination. And great, I get it. More people get vaccinated, it will slow the spread. It will give a lot more people the opportunity to live longer, especially our older population who really got hit hard by coronavirus. And also thinking about our healthcare workers that are supporting them and supporting the world in the fight. But that was all. That's it. Just vaccination. That's the only plan that we have. We're gonna get through this with vaccination. You look at testing, and I said that this. I learned how flawed the system was. Allison and I, we recently took a trip to New Orleans, and going to New Orleans, you go to the state. The regulations are different everywhere, right? But federally mandated, we can wear a mask. But if I fly to New Orleans, I don't have to check in and tell them where I'm coming from or do any specific COVID guidelines, right? But the minute I fly back into New York, I'm being greeted by the National Guard in full uniform, handing out forms telling
Wow.
me where did you come from, fill up your information, we'll keep track, we'll get reach out to you. And I realized how flawed it was because I got called the next day from coming back into New York saying that I got to quarantine and do all these things. Allison, who traveled with me, she lives in the same place as me, did not get any phone calls. She did not get any follow up, no emails, no information, none of that when pertaining to
Mm.
her coming back into New York. And we did the same exact thing, the same exact day, sat next to each other on the airport, handed our information to the same compliance agent at the gate. And I realized, why aren't we doing the same procedure for everyone, right? And then I think about when it came to the testing, right? So you go and you get monitored, and they're asking you where you come from. You do your quarantine. You go to do your testing. You go to do your testing, and one, rapid tests are rapid, but they don't tell you, hey, you got to wait in line for 100 people at your local city MD to get that test, right? It's rapid. So you would think, oh yeah, I can just go inside and get a test. No, I had to wait for 53 people to get a text message notification and tell me, hey, Julian, you can come and take your test. And then wait another hour to be seen by somebody to take my test and to be administered to me. And then from there, I got my rapid test notification and my results was negative. And then I was like, okay, so how do I find out where can I go outside or do the things that I need to do? Like, who do I call to tell them I'm okay? Well, we tell the information to the Department of Health. Well, how long does it take you guys to tell the information to the Department of Health? And how long does it take for them to process, hey, you just got a negative test so you can exit quarantine? There was no calling and saying, hey, I'm good, I'm negative, can I exit my quarantine? I didn't hear anything from anybody telling me you should exit your quarantine. You tested negative. They refer to you to the doctor's office and say, oh, well, call the doctor's office and see what they say. Well, then how does that help me with the National Guard and the New York COVID tracing center calling my phone all day, every day? There's points where the system is flawed. And then you think of the system of how they're distributing the vaccination and where the issues lie with that, right? Certain people in certain areas are not getting priority for vaccination. I would think that areas that were hit harder with a larger population of older people should get the vaccination first, right? Or think about, you talked about Cuomo, thinking about the nursing homes and the people who did not have to die unnecessarily in the nursing homes. And it all starts with the system. And we thought that Donald Trump, it was just Donald Trump and his management of the situation and how he handled things or whatever. But it's the system, because if there was a better system set up in place, we could have did things differently, and we can do things differently. And I look at where we are in New York, and Cuomo's talking about, yeah, we can start to have heightened more capacity in venues, and there's indoor dining, and you can go to sports games, you can go bowling, you can go this and that. And I imagine that in a few months, it's like COVID is just going to be to the back burner. It's just going to be an everyday run-of-the-mill thing, like people were casually talking about H1N1 and Ebola a few years ago. Like, it's not going to be as serious as people took it last year, because they're going to be in such a rush to get back to their normal everyday lives.
Absolutely. And nah, it was flawed from the beginning, because if we go back like to last year, February, because it's about a year since, a little more than a year since we had the first COVID case. I think it's about a year since I started working from home, which is wild. And they in the beginning, like when we needed all the supplies, the Q-tips, the reagents that are and the chemicals needed to test COVID, the government, they were making it that the states had to buy all of the they would have to call the vendors and buy their supply for their specific state, instead of having the federal government purchase all of it, just having one call, and then they'll distribute it evenly or by need to each individual state. That would then cause 50 different governors calling, or whoever, 50 different administrators, and then it'll start a bidding war between people, because like, oh, because there's not enough supply, so like, okay, I'll give you this amount of money for all these chemicals, or I'll give you this amount of money, and that just caused, mayhem. That's
Mm-hmm.
definitely how it started, and that caused testing to be scarce for a while until it eventually got built up. And then, of course, with the Donald Trump administration, them saying not even believing in the virus, they're saying that the masks aren't as necessary. Trump going against Fauci, his own Center of Disease and Control expert, uh, saying no, he's wrong. And you could be skeptical of people. I can understand that. You should always have more information, but it was totally detrimental to the country. I always say this: Trump should have rocked the MAGA mask. He should have sold the
Mm.
MAGA mask, had all his people rock it, and they would have listened. They would have listened, and it would have become a political thing. And he probably they would have sold like hotcakes. I would have been tight seeing people wear it, but fuck it, like you're wearing masks, like that, and that's how the country might we would more than likely have less deaths. Um, and also the transition between the Trump and Biden administration. Trump didn't share any information. He for a while, because he still believed that he didn't lose the election. And for a while they didn't want to do any transition, and so that also caused Biden's team to slack in terms of how they were going to prepare for continue the vaccines. And so it is
Mm-hmm.
government, especially the American government, is and that's what happens when you live in like a democratic society. We don't live in a dictatorship where you say one thing, one person says one thing, and then it can happen, right away. Unfortunately, we have like the House and we have the Senate, and then they have to argue about it, and then we got a bill. The president
And
does
it takes
have
3 months for us to get coronavirus
uh
funding in support.
yo, that is the most disgusting thing ever, because they're getting paid, by our dollars, and just spending, just waiting for time to pass. It's really, really disgusting how they say they are for the people, they are fighting for the constituents, but it's just not true. They're just fighting for, corporate America. They want to make sure the bills that they pass has enough uh, corporate welfare for the big companies, and not for the people. And
Mm-hmm.
it's completely disgusting. And that, I guess, we live in America. It is a company. America is a company, but your company is not going to work without the employees, the people. The people are the company. If they're good, the economy is going to be good. If we aren't purchasing things, the economy is not going to go up. And so luckily, things are happening. Have gotten a stimulus, but even right now with Biden, like we're still slacking on the next Corona bill. They were when they were campaigning in Georgia, to try and take the House or the Senate. That's
Mm-hmm.
what Biden was saying. He was like, hey, you got to vote for us because then you will get your $2,000 checks, because Trump did say, which,
Mm-hmm.
I commend him for that because it's true. He's like, oh, people needed $2,000. And he was like, and, it didn't work out. They tried to put the bill in, didn't work out. That's what's the platform. Trump kind of gave that to the Democrats, like, yo, now you could
He
use
really
this.
did.
And that was your campaign push. And it was still slim. Like, the Democrats might have not taken the House. And so you use that to get the votes. You got what you wanted, and now you still haven't given us the plan. And it sucks. He should have done it week one, week two. And I do believe it'll happen because states also need funding. If not, many states will go bankrupt once they got to do their budget
Yeah.
for the following year. And so I do believe it'll happen, but it's just slacking. Like uh, any economist
And
will
the
tell
people
you
are
that.
really like they're struggling. Like you really look at it, people are struggling. There are still people who lost their jobs in March who are still struggling to find work. The job market right now, yes, there's more people back to work, but it is
Hmm.
more competitive than ever. And you imagine there's the people who graduate who lost their jobs in March or May, right? In March, my bad, March 2020, they lost their jobs. Now you're competing not only with everybody else in the world for positions, right? But now you're competing with the new generation of people entering the workforce, right? So the recent college graduates from June, right? And then you look at the December college graduates, and then you look at the high school graduates, and now the workforce is becoming much bigger because people are getting older. And then coronavirus, people are willing to work jobs they would never thought before. That executive, that marketing executive, is willing to go and work at Walmart because that check is more consistent than getting an unemployment check where you're not getting an additional stimulus, funding on top to give you that extra $600 like you were before. Because they were really, let's really talk about it. Unemployment checks were based on your 2019 tax returns, right? But
Hmm.
there's no update for your 2020 tax returns, right? So imagine you gone through all of 2020 and you're based off of money that you used to make in 2019. So had you made more money in 2020 and then you lost your job, you're not getting that money or that way of life that you were used to. And I look at even the tax situation, man, it's ridiculously crazy. Looking at all these people who filed for unemployment, lost their jobs, and now they have to pay back major
Yup.
amounts of taxes on those unemployment. I myself, I'm like, bro, I didn't ask to be furloughed from my job. I didn't ask to for this to happen, and now I'm paying more taxes for losing my job if I would have had to if I kept my job. Does that make any sense
Hmm.
that we live in a country where that's an issue? And I'm luckily enough that I've been able to go back to work and, being able to sustain myself. But thinking of my friends and my family who've yet to go back to work and they're still on unemployment and those checks are not nowhere near where they need it and they're still being taxed so heavily. And, screw Trump for the tax situation that he created. During his time in office, because it's really made things really bad for regular Joe Schmoes. And you throw what a $1,200 check out there and a $600 check out there, and you think that people are going to be okay. And I looked at some elected officials, they were talking and they had the nerve to say that the most Americans $1,400 would get them through the next month of next 6 months of finances. I'm like, one $1,400 check where? In Uganda? Like, it's not working in here. It's not working in America.
And it's messed up because how much money you living on? I bet you it's more than that. And so, like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you talking about? Nah, it's completely disgusting. And on top of the tax situation, like, I imagine you're paying that much, and then imagine someone who has to do it for the whole year. They're gonna have to be paying astronomical amounts. My roommate being one of them. He still hasn't done his taxes, but when he does them, he always is mentioning it to me. He's like, I'm gonna have to pay. And for the
Mm-hmm.
future, I feel like people should try and I don't know if the unemployment gives you this option, get the taxes taken out first instead of having to pay them later and getting more money in the beginning. If that's possible, definitely I would tell people like go that route because even if you have to pay later, it'll be much less than you have to now because some people aren't going to have that money. As a matter of fact,
No, it's
and it doesn't
true.
even stop with there. Like going back to the Texas thing, some people there, since the Texas electrical company, it doesn't pass state lines. And so it's only in Texas, and they aren't bound by the federal mandates that other electrical companies have to go by. So they aren't regulated by the government, allowing that company to then charge however much surge pricing they want to their people. And so during this whole winter thing, the surge pricing was crazy, and people had bills of like $12,000, like $16,000. And then if you have auto pay on and you just get this transaction, you're gonna be like, what in the actual fuck? And I don't know what's gonna come out from that. Like,
Yeah.
is the government gonna step in and be like, yo, you got to refund that money? Because it's completely and utterly disgusting. The heat wasn't even working, and you want to now surge prices. Like it's completely disgusting. And those are the type of companies that will get away with shit like that. Even when the Wall Street fucked up the whole housing market in 2008, they got bailed out, and then in return gave the CEOs bonuses with the excess money that they got from those bailouts. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what's gonna also happen. That's what probably is gonna happen with the corporate welfare that happened this year in the first stimulus package. They're gonna just in reverse give those instead of hiring the same people they had, because that's what the stimulus money should be. That's what should be a regulation. Like, okay, we're gonna give you this money, but you have to hire back every single person that you laid off. If not, then you don't get any of it because we don't want you to then in return give yourself a bonus. So it's completely disgusting. Coming
Yeah.
back, and yeah, it's just this world, this country. The system was built this way, unfortunately. So like when you say like the system is broken, I actually think it's working because this is how it was built for it to work this way. It
From
was
the
built
beginning.
so
Yeah.
like people of color will be struggling. It was built so there are health deserts, and then on top of that, people of color are already skeptical of vaccines, and then there's health deserts there. So that's like times two of when it comes to like trying to get access to it. And so luckily, like in New York specifically, they are doing a good job, and it's still scarce. One, because of skepticism, and because of the health deserts. But if you go any like other places in the country, they are not worried about, like the disenfranchised communities, the black and brown communities. Like they have not
Yeah.
created a plan to try and reach out to those communities. And so it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. When something happens, it's always gonna be the black and brown people who get the brunt, or the minorities. And
Always.
um and it sucks because they need us for herd immunity. If you count the Latino population and the black population, it's about, like, I know black is like 13%, Latino is what, like 20%. So let's just say 32%. And for herd immunity, you need 70 to 90%. So they need us, and they
Mm-hmm.
in order to try and build that herd immunity. And there are like marketing things saying like, okay, like the vaccine is safe, like we want you to take it. But where was that sense of urgency when other shit was going down? Where was that sense of urgency
Yeah.
when there was like supermarket deserts? Now that you need us, you want us to take the vaccine. And so it's just like a slap in the face. Like that's another reason to be skeptical. Like, oh, now that you need us, you want to do. Where was this sense of urgency before, when the education wasn't the same, when the same amount of funding wasn't given to these parks, when
Yep.
all that shit. And so that
No,
is
you're
it's
100% right, bro.
disencouraging. It's disencouraging. Is that the right word?
No,
Disencouraging?
it's discouraging. Discouraging.
Disencouraging. Discouraging.
You knew
You
it.
could
You
tell
were
I went to
there.
college. You could tell I went to
Nah,
college.
you were there. No, but it's true, and I think the biggest thing is trust, right? There's no level of trust there, and not of course the people in the black and brown communities, we don't trust the government because the government has always been against us. And you remember when coronavirus first happened, right? It was only seemed like it was only black people who were dying, or they were saying that
In
black
the
people were
beginning,
immune. They said
immune. In
black
the
people were
very, very
immune,
beginning.
and
Um,
then
but then
it
now black and brown
transitioned
people, like
are the
blacks,
highest
two
numbers.
times, two times deaths, and then brown people like Latinos 1.5 times more than whites. So it's fucked up, like how that ended up happening.
No, and it's a crazy transition, to see. But I think we don't have that trust, and it's all because you made a great point. The system, it's not that the system is broken. The system was built like this from day one, right? From George Washington to the slave
Yep,
stolen teeth,
the
to
forefathers.
the translations, the transportation of the slaves, the forefathers. You look at the systematic racism that takes place, and then also just look at the system of itself. Like, look at a system where a president who has committed multiple crimes on a global level is acquitted for his impeachment twice. Where do you see that? You know what I mean? And there's no accountability.
And then in return, because the Republicans voted, first of all, it's the vote ended up being like 57, like 40 something. More people still voted to impeach him, but unfortunately, you need 67 votes. I don't know what kind of shit that is, because you need two-thirds votes, or 63%, whatever it is. That's bullshit. Two, then you have Mitch McConnell, who comes and after literally 2 minutes after voting no for impeaching, then goes and says Trump was responsible for those riots. He was 100% responsible for those riots. But
Mm-hmm.
his argument is, oh, we can't impeach a non-sitting president, which is bullshit, because they had the pre-trial hearing, which was to decide whether you can persecute or impeach a non-sitting president. And matter of fact, he was impeached while he was president. The
While
trial was
he was
after he was
president.
president. And so that's just complete bullshit. And um, it's people just trying to save their political careers. I don't know how Mitch McConnell got revoted for in guess their state. They love him. I don't know. I don't understand how someone like he called himself the Grim Reaper. He said no Democratic, like in the years of Obama, no Democratic bill will ever be put through. Like that's not democracy to me. You're not even gonna put
No,
up
that's
bills to
not.
vote by your party. And it's just crazy that they're allowed to do that. It's crazy that they're allowed to do that. And even to this day, we have the majority in the House or in the Senate, but still we weren't able to impeach him. and with 7 Republicans saying that they were down to vote against Trump. But he Trump
And it all has to
the
do with
Republican
the
Party
not
is the party
having
of Trump.
that bipartisanship. Like we don't
Absolutely.
have. You pinpointed it. You said that's not democracy because we're not living in a democracy. If you look at how the tables have fell in the past, I would say 15, 20 years, we're not living based on democracy. Democracy is the system of how we vote and it put
Yes.
our people into place. But how the country is managed is not managed as a democracy. It's managed
It's
as
more.
a bipartisan two-party system where if you have a Republican in office and they have their agenda and they get the right amount of people of votes and they supporting cast members and everything, they'll get everything that they want to do. If you have the same thing for the Democrats, they'll get everything that they want done. And that's a push and pull, right? So we got a Democratic president now. Trump was the Republican. Then Obama was a Democrat before. Then we had a Republican, and then a Democrat before. And it's just that like pull and pull where it's like that balance of like Democrat versus Republican, and we give you guys something that you want for 4 years, and then we'll take it away from you. And like it's really not democracy. It's not how democracy is handled. And to think that we are the foremost authority on democracy, right? We go to other countries and other places and push democracy onto them and how they should run their
Hmm.
countries when democracy is falling apart every day living in America. Simple as that.
You got the Republicans always talking about, oh, we can't be like a socialist because then we'll have bread lines like every corner. Motherfucker, we got bread lines right now. Like there's bread lines everywhere because people don't know where the next meal is gonna be. Um, Pretty much, politics is trash. I say that we live in an oligarchy. An oligarchy is we just a bunch of men at the top controlling everything. The people I guess we voted for, they're the ones who truly control the country. And so
Mm-hmm.
pretty much let's get off of politics. It gets me tight even talking about it. One thing that I do want to praise, is my good
Gorilla Glue
old
Girl.
guy, Gorilla Glue.
You
Yo,
want to
her shit
praise
was
Gorilla
laid.
Glue
I don't give a
Girl,
fuck. Her shit was laid, and I know she
bro?
got the bikini wax with the gorilla tape right after that. Okay, because that
Girl,
shit,
she
nah, but
better
that shit is.
secure that brand partnership. Okay, she got everybody in the world talking about Gorilla Glue. Get that money, sis. I heard you return home. She over here selling T-shirts, sweatshirts,
Hell
sweatpants.
yeah.
Yo, like a full outfit from her right now is running $150. And bro, people are doing that. They gave her $20,000 in a GoFundMe to save her, creating this trend of people on TikTok trying the Gorilla Glue thing, trying to see if they can make money off of it.
Yo, trash. By the way, speaking of TikTok, my boy Tofu Jack got 50K
Shout
followers
out
on
to him.
TikTok. We're doing the Japanese word
Yo,
of the day and creating a song. That's it. He's out of here, bro. He's out of
no,
here.
he is.
He's he just got 50K. Took like a month, and now he's about to get 100K. He's about to get a milli. That's it. I'm so proud of the dude, and like it's. I hope you don't forget about us.
No, seriously. I honestly love TikTok. Trump was trying to ban it, the whole situation. I don't care. But TikTok, and when it comes to content creation and just a social platform, right? The social media, the purpose that we've created and everything behind it. You look at Instagram, you look at all the controlling things that they do, the moderation and shadow banning and everything. And what I love about TikTok is it's an organic platform. Anybody can be anything, and you post one video and it can go off and get up to the right person just because of just organic nature and the algorithm, how the algorithm works. And I think that all the social platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, if you're take notes, because this is how platforms should be, and this is what people use platforms for, right? And I think it's a perfect example. Like Tofu, he's been killing the game. He's been doing this for years. We've been seeing it for what? Has it been almost 10 years now, bro? Since he's been on it,
Yeah,
like he's
absolutely.
been at it,
And
and
he's
we've been
had
seeing
he's had
it.
other things. Like he used to put a song out a week, video out a week. He's done this type of thing before, and then now he's doing a Japanese word of the day a week, and it's working for him.
Yeah, it really is, and you never know. It's like it's just you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing it right. You just might not be on the right platform. It just might
Absolutely.
you might be on putting it on Facebook, but all your people live on Twitter, or you might be putting it on Twitter and all your people live on Instagram, right? You're on the wrong platform, and once you realize that, it's gonna take off. So definitely kudos to my man Tofu Jack. I'm proud of you. We here, we support you on the podcast. Much love. You got this. You know,
Nah,
I
yeah,
want to know
I'm
somebody
so
with a
proud of
million
it. I'm so
TikTok
proud of the
followers.
kid.
No,
Absolutely.
truth be
And I
told,
just hope he don't forget about us. And now he won't. I know he won't. Luckily, like, he's a Brooklyn dude. I'm gonna hold him down to the day I die. I know you are. And nah, it's really impressive. It also like it shows that like when you think one thing is gonna exist forever, YouTube or and it's still existing, of course, but there's something new is always gonna happen. Before you had
mm-hmm.
MySpace, before you had blackpeoplemeet.com, like it's always something new is gonna happen, and who
You got
knows? And
Christian
there's gonna be
Mingle.
something else next. And Christian Mingle, farmersmeet.com, um, they
And it
fucking
helps the forward progression. Like you think of like where we were last year, and look at all the companies that have emerged, all the businesses that emerged, all the necessities that have emerged out of the coronavirus, right? You look at the mask, right? How many companies were not mass producing masks that pivoted
new
into
product,
creating
yeah,
masks and hand sanitizers and things tailored towards this experience that we were all living? And I think that's a testament of learning how to pivot, right? Right now you were so
yes,
used to
yes,
doing one specific type of thing and learning how to pivot. I watched this video on YouTube. It was with Kenny Beats, and Kenny Beats is talking about, like how music industry, like if you're doing music, if you're not doing it for the love or the right reasons, you're always going to be broke, because if you're looking to get into money, it's not going to be the place for you. And he quoted something that stood out to me. He said that if you're ever around somebody who really has money, they always ask you, like they say, like, why are you only doing music? There's so much more that you could be doing with your potential. And I think that's a perfect example of like Jay-Z, right?
yes, yes,
Jay-Z, Brooklyn boy, he used music as a catalyst to get him in the door, right? He made a name for himself as an artist to where he started to build brands. And I think that's a, like, if you're an artist today, everybody's trying to do something. They're trying to do content creation. They're trying to do content creation. They're starting businesses. They're doing all these gimmicks and things to kind of create this sense of longevity. But if you just create a simple product that people are familiar with, the doors will open with you. And Jay-Z gave us consistent product for generations. And now I'm pivoting, right? I'm still making rap albums, and I'm doing that because that's shit that I love to do. But I'm over here creating partnerships, right? I got a partnership with the NBA. I got a partnership with Ticketmaster. I started my own company. I got partnerships with Puma. Now I got a joint venture partnership, 50% sale of Ace of Spades champagne to LVMH. And I feel like in the pinnacle of today's society, anybody with a brand partnership with LVMH, you are on. Okay, you literally hit the
absolutely.
mountaintop. Rihanna, she had that partnership with Fenty, with LVMH, Savage Fenty, Fenty Beauty,
Eventually, it fell
the whole
through, like her clothing line
her
with
clothing line fell
LVMH.
through. But if you
But
look
she
at
has
her
Fenty Beauty, though. Don't get it twisted. Fenty
one
Savage.
$1 billion in revenue. They said that's their biggest, one of their biggest sellers right now is a Savage, off of $1 billion of revenue. And now so much to the point where they're about to open brick and mortar stores for Savage X because of that joint venture.
I need that Fenty Savage men's underwear. Because it's been sold out for a minute, and I'm just trying to, take these thirst traps. Nah, but shout out to Jay-Z. Who would have thought that the guy who was selling, cocaine, like, and
Seriously.
crack, and then from the hood, Marcy Projects, and then dropped his first album at 26 would be where he's at now. And life is all about evolution. And I love Jay-Z so much because he is that one of those pillars that we can actually look at and be like, I want to reach that level. And I love how he has his dreads on now. Look at my hair free, carefree. Niggas ain't near free. Jay-Z, like
Mm,
he looks great. And so he's not stopping, yo. He's not stopping.
no.
And it's also the luxurious, he's going to that luxurious side, something that really black owned. You don't see that. And of course it's a partnership, but then he's gonna build something else potentially that will then be his own house where he can put other people on. And so he's not even done yet, and Jay-Z and the people like give flag to Jay-Z because he's working with the NFL and shit, but Jay-Z knows what he's doing. And I'm gonna look up to him always as a rapper and as an entrepreneur and as a mogul, because Jay-Z's that guy. Jay-Z's like he's done it right. I was listening to a Vlad interview with Lil Bibby. Lil Bibby's like 24. He's the one who signed Juice World and he signed the Kid Laroi. And he doesn't rap anymore, but he like does business shit too. And he says like, "Yo, I'm trying to get out of the streets, because I don't. I've done that already. Like I don't need to be in the streets anymore. What I'm looking at is trying to be like Jay Z." And then Vlad just responds to him and is be like, "Well, you're only 24, so Jay Z hasn't even done what you've done at 24. He started at like 26."
Yeah.
And so that's just a shout out to for everybody else because you could become Jay-Z, like, and you might start before, you might start after, but it can happen, and everybody's on their own journey. Everybody is a bud in a pot that eventually will grow, and it just may take some time. Same thing with I have met an actor here named Sean, who's he's on the morning show, and been in a few commercials as well, and he said it took him some time to get the auditions and then to be able to book. But now that he's on the morning show, an Apple TV show, and working with Steve Carell, Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston, like he's out here booking stuff. And he told Tony, my roommate, who's an aspiring actor as well, like, yo, one day it's gonna come, and it's just your time will shine. And so everybody has their journey. You are the main character of your story. Um,
Mm.
and it can be done, yo. Shout out to fucking Jay-Z, man. Like a true inspiration for me, at least. And that's because I'm from New York. And some people clown him for his music too, but I love his music. 444 is one of my favorite albums of all time. And so shout out to Jay, man, an inspiration to us all.
Jay, if you really know about it, Jay, if you really look at the pinnacle of hip hop and what he's been able to do, Jay stands at the center. And it's obviously my GOAT is Kanye. That's me and Kevin's GOAT. But we know that Jay Z is Big Brother, used to be Dame's and Big's brother, who is hip hop's brother, who is No ID's friend.
No
All
ID,
right,
my
I'm not even gonna
mentor.
go
Now let
anymore.
the story
Let the
begin.
story begin.
But Kanye's
No,
on
but
his
truth be
entrepreneurship too. He has a $1 billion company, or like with Yeezy partnership with Adidas. He's making money too. Like he looks up to Jay-Z as well, and probably wants to be like him. And he's doing
no,
it as
it's
well.
it's the truth. And I think that's like it's the blueprint, right? And I think that if you think about it, Kanye probably had that mindset from learning from Jay. Like hip hop is gonna have a time, right? You're gonna have a shelf life. Realistically speaking, if you look at musically, you have a shelf life of how relevant you can be, and at the time that you start, and growing over time, and how you change artistically. And I think about it is music is a huge gamble, right? You're gambling or investing, hoping that the song that you put out is going to yield dividends. But there's always that one-off chance that that song or that album is going to just be a complete dud, and then it's going to be a waste of money, right? And if you start thinking about, and not only for artists but people in general, taking your money and investing it in the right places, in the right space, and also, like you said, it's all about timing, right?
Yes.
Jay-Z was when he first dropped his first song, he was 26 going on 27. Jay-Z is 51 right now. He's a billionaire of his whole empire. He's a billionaire, simple. He has a whole empire that is not only servicing music, it's servicing marijuana, it's servicing clothing and
Sports.
apparel, it's servicing sports, it's servicing liquor, and his money is not only in one place. And any entrepreneur, and obviously this is the purpose of this show, we talk about entrepreneurship and business and mindset. Any entrepreneur who only has their money tied up in one place is already setting themselves up for failure, because as an entrepreneur you should be looking to have your money in different places and in different spaces and investing in different things and different companies, because you want your money and your dollar to go longer, right? They say you got to have 6 or 7 ventures. Even the Bible says and talks about entrepreneurship and telling you to not only have one stream of income, but to have 6 and 7 different streams of possible income. And that mindset, Jay was able to do that, and he's continuing to do that. And anybody who sees that, that's a blueprint. That's a blueprint for me to imagine that a person from the Marcy Projects not only can become a rapper, but he can outpass that mindset of a rapper. When you look at Jay-Z, you're not looking at just Jay-Z the rapper anymore. He's he's a mogul. You look at Diddy, you're not looking at Diddy the rapper, you're looking at a mogul. You look at Ye, you're not looking at Kanye the rapper. Like, look at what they're doing on a business level. Look at opportunities they're creating, jobs they're creating, spaces that they're creating for other people to get on. Imagine how many people want to work for a Yeezy, want to work for Rock Nation, want to work for a Bad Boy. You know what I mean? Like, people whose dreams to work for these companies and to create, be in those spaces. And like, look at what these people were able to do out of nothing, right? They had no backing. They had no rich uncles or daddies or people to put them on, but they took the game, they learned it, and they finessed it, and they were able to create this.
It's a beautiful thing, yo. If you can think it, it can happen. And
They
now is the
can.
time, yo. Now is the time to work on your craft then, because once this Corona shit happens, if you're in the entertainment industry or whatever it may be, people are gonna come. You know, they're gonna want to support if you have great product, and that's just the case to it. You build it, they will come, and so that's just something for
No,
people to think about. You know,
if you're thinking what now, what's next, um, think bigger. Think bigger than you ever imagined. There's all these possibilities. There are systems and things in place that are against you, but you rise above it. Don't care what politicians tell you. Don't care what anyone tells you. Don't let the world tell you no. The government tell you no. You can do it if you put your mind to it. Boom. Mic drop. Tell your
mic
friends.
drop. Tell your friend to tell your friend to tell a hoe. I've been real since the day the doctor cut my umbilical.
Mm. Spit it, yo. We gotta bring back the freestyles
Instead of
in a
having
very
it in the instead of having it in the beginning, just have it at the end.
large freestyle at the end. But
When I
ladies and
come to New
gentlemen,
York and we do a live one together, we'll definitely
a
do
live
freestyle.
show. We're gonna do it freestyle. Oh yeah, it's crazy. We can't. I can't wait, man. I can't wait.
But just some trends to watch, there's always like, investing. Remember, make sure to invest. Bitcoin is very volatile at the moment, but yo, if you remember that you don't gotta buy a whole Bitcoin, even though it's worth $50,000, you could just buy a piece of it and then it'll go up and you could sell it and it'll go back down. Of course, I am not an economist or a licensed broker, so you don't have to take my advice, but it seems like a way for people to make money. That's another way rich people stay rich, investing their money and have your money make money for you. And so, just
Exactly.
always have your research for that. And, there's other avenues for you to be rich. Even if you're just making, it's hard because we don't have a lot of disposable income most of the time. A lot of people be living paycheck to paycheck and you'd be like, I don't have time to invest. But even if it's like $5, just
Yeah.
something, it's possible.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible, and I think for me, looking at where we are in the coronavirus situation and in the pandemic, a lot more people have found themselves like DIY trading and learning how to do stocks because you're seeing people make money, right? A lot of people make money. As crazy as the pandemic has been, the stock market has been moving. It's been fluctuating very crazily, and people have been making money. Stockbrokers have been making money. Investors have been making money off of things, and they've also been shorting things too, right? That's why we saw the GameStop situation and the AMC situation. So don't. I think what that situation has taught us is that don't be the last person in the party, right? You never want to be the person that shows up late to the party because you might miss everything that goes on, right? You want to be early. Invest that money, like Kevin said, $5, $10. You never know, like that $5 fractional share in a Bitcoin or in a Tesla or in an Apple might yield a dividend, and you might see your money go longer. And of course, it's a gamble, and we ain't telling you what to do, but to be open and mindful because you never know. It's always good to have money in stocks. It's a good savings plan, for your future, for your kids. It's a good move. Ladies and gentlemen, it's
For
been
sure,
another great
absolutely.
episode of Mogul Talk. I am your boy King Jules, and I'm so happy to be here. You can follow me on social at I am King Jules, and you can follow my guy Church at
You can follow me at Note Church in the City on IG, and you can see my sexy self. I actually, funny story before we close off, I was at the Colombian restaurant yesterday, and this Colombian girl started talking to me, and I was just talking to her in Spanish, and then she had a keychain key necklace that said "I love Jesus," which of course I fuck with. I love Jesus too. And then she's like, "Yo, you got Instagram?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "It's no church in the city." And then she's like, "No church." She's like, "I love," and she's like a OD Bible head. She thought that was kind of weird. I was just found it funny, but she still followed me. She's like, "No church? You don't like church?" And I was like, "Nah, nah,
Like
nah.
no,
It's just my
you had to
name.
differ the context of
Don't
like
even worry
no
about
church in the
it."
wild, like no church in the city. Like it's, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
we get it.
I wasn't sure if she'd understand it, but I guess I could have
Yeah,
explained it.
it makes sense
Most people realize
in
that
a
it's a
wild
no
reference.
church
Yeah,
in the wild reference. Most people, but I can understand. I can understand. But it was just funny to me. You like, me trying to spit game, and then that one thing, like, oh, no church. Oh, you don't like church? Even though I went to church my whole life, like, but it's just
no.
funny. But yeah, yeah, that's just a little story during
No,
my
that's funny. I'm
escapade.
happy you're getting yourself out there and you're
Thank you for
enjoying
everything.
LA. Like, if you can see for our fans that are on YouTube, look at Kevin, man. This guy is glowing. He's happy. That sunshine in LA is doing him good. I'm over here struggling. This is like
Hell
our
yeah.
fifth snowstorm in like 3 weeks. I'm tired. Look at me. I got look at my facial hair. I look like you
I got
got
a
a puffy.
puppy.
Life is good for you over there, bro.
Nah, you look good. You still have the dye on your hair? Because I'm thinking about cutting my hair soon, and then I might go electric
Electric
blue,
blue.
to
All
be
right, I
honest. Some
can't
shit
wait to
like
see
that.
that.
I'm not sure. And then if it's whack, I'll just cut it off again. But yeah, thank you guys for always listening. Tune in. We got an interview coming up after this, and so we hope you check that out too.
Yeah,
And
y'all.
yeah, you know the
Until
vibes.
next time, a lot of love, a lot of peace, and a joy to you all. See y'all later.
Peace.
Follow us on Instagram at Mogul Talk Podcast and on Twitter at Mogul Talk Pod. Be sure to find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor.fm, or Stitcher. Look us up in your search tab by typing in Mogul Talk.